All right, so our comprehension skill we're working on this week is problem and solution. So I want you to listen to this. This is in our book. This is after the story. So I want you to listen to this.
Problem and solution. The plot is often about the problem in the story. The solution is how the characters solve the problem by the end of the story.
Okay, so let's think about our story yesterday that we read, the art project. We have some story elements. In order to have a story, we have to have some characters. Who were the characters in our story yesterday, Libby? Who are the characters? Can you name one of them? Grace. Good. So Grace was a character. Addie. Pablo is a character. Louis. You forgot? That's okay, Kaden. You forgot too, Corla. Yep, we just said Pablo. So we have Grace and Pablo. Were they the only characters? Was there only two people?
No, there's one more name.
Addie? Hale.
Or Hall, whatever, I don't know.
Hall
And
would
the
have
teacher.
Hall would have two L's, so it's Hale.
Hale.
And there's one more person. Ingrid?
The teacher.
Teacher, what was her name? Do you remember? Mrs. Brooklyn?
Mrs. Cinnamon?
I think it was Simon. Mrs. Simon.
You said Simmons.
Simon,
Yesterday.
Simon.
And you, I
Yeah.
was gonna say it should be Simon, and then you guys said Simon,
Well-
and now you're calling it Simon?
You can pronounce it either way, Raylan.
Yeah.
Right? So you can pronounce it Simon or Simon. I think yesterday we said Simon, but it could be pronounced Simon. And that's a lot with names. A lot of times with names you can pronounce them different ways. Okay, so there's 4 characters. Now, where is the setting? So we have our characters. Where's our setting?
Oh no.
If I see those eggs, they're going to be mine because they're not toys. Where's the setting? Where is this happening? At the beach, at the train station, at the mall, at the park? Where is this story happening? The art project. Corla? In school. It's happening in school. So the setting is at school. So we have our characters, we have our setting. Now we have to have a plot. What is going to happen in the story? And this says a lot of times the plot has a problem and then a solution. So yesterday, what was the big problem? Wyatt, what was the big problem yesterday? They were running low on art supplies. They didn't have enough art supplies to create this project for the contest, right? So what was the solution? So the class does not have materials or supplies for the art contest or the art project. Here's the problem. You guys are right. Wyatt was right on. Now, after the problem, we have to have steps to the solution. So who can think of what was one of their steps or one of their ideas on how to fix this problem? Kinsley?
They found like stuff to make them out of.
Yeah, they found different stuff.
Yeah.
So what was some of that stuff they found?
Like trash?
Well, I don't know if it was
Well, no,
necessarily
like-
trash, but
Like
give me some examples of what they found for their project.
I forgot what they're called. Like
Those little painted things?
Are you thinking about like the hanger? No. Okay, you keep thinking, okay? Kaden?
they found some paper.
Yeah. Pablo suggests reusing paper from the recycling bin. So that was one thing. Good job, Kaden. That was one step, but that wasn't the only one. Lisa, what do you think?
Looking a wheelchair that use some recycled paper and making those things.
Yep, that's what we just said. We need to use recycled paper. Raylan?
hangers and like wire.
Yeah, they said, oh, 2 and 3 are blank, but they said to reuse the hangers, the wired hangers. Do you guys have wired hangers in your closets at all?
I do.
Maybe you might. They're not very popular anymore because a lot of people have plastic hangers because they don't ruin the wood that they hang on, and they're easier sometimes to put your clothes on. So you might have wire hangers. I know I have a few in my house, but I don't have a lot.
You know, we just
Most people have plastic ones. Carson, no. So wire hangers is one of them. And then there was one more thing they needed. What was another thing? Lily, what was the other thing? Wired hangers, recycled paper, and they were making this mobile. So what was the other thing they needed? I need one more thing. Okay, it's okay. Relax. Can you think, Lily? Or you want some help? Charlotte, do you remember? Carson, what did they need? They have wire hangers, they have recycled paper. No, they never needed glue yesterday. Kinsley? String. They needed string. Good job. So when they got all of that together, then they were able to solve this problem. And what was their solution? How did they solve this problem with all those materials? What did they do, Brooklyn?
They made these little, like
Birds, like
animal
cranes.
birds,
They call them cranes. Like those origami cranes that look like,
or
right?
like origamis. My sister makes them.
Okay. And then what did they do with the cranes? They just didn't make the paper cranes. What did they do, Addie?
It's a cell. It's like the thing that hangs down from a baby crib, and then they connected the string to each one.
Exactly. Good job. Very good. So they made that mobile out of those paper cranes, and then they completed their art project. So they were able to create, and they won. Good job.
Why is that square blank?
Because we are supposed to fill it in. They want you to fill it in. They don't want you just to give you the answer.
Wait, so we're doing that paper?
No, this is in our book. So it's in our Wonders book. But I don't want you to write in your Wonders book.
No one likes that.
Because that would kind of ruin them, right?
We don't know which one is whose.
Plus, we want to use the books year after year after year. So that's why we don't write in it. But this is actually a page in your Wonders book. Oops, just a second here. See, this is, so if you opened up your Wonders book, remember yesterday's story? This is 2 pages after it. So problems and solution is in there. Okay, now we're gonna watch a little video that reviews our story elements, and then we're gonna do a worksheet that goes with this, okay? All right, hopefully it's not too loud.
To read stories, one of the things that we want to always look for are the story elements. There are 4 story elements: characters, setting, problem, and solution. As we read, if we can figure out those 4 story elements, we have a good idea of what's happening in the story. And if anybody ever asks us to tell about the story, we'll be able to tell them what the story was all about. Let's take the first story element, characters. Characters are the people or animals you meet in a story. In a familiar story, The Little Red Hen, the main character would be the little red hen. Other characters in the story that we might want to mention would include a cat, a dog, and a duck. Characters help us keep in mind who is involved in the story, so we remember all the characters as the action takes place. The next story element is setting. Setting tells when or where the story takes place. In the case of the Little Red Hen, I remember that they were harvesting wheat, so I would say the setting is in the fall. Most of the story took place outside, And I would say that most of it was around Little Red Hen's house. So the setting helps us keep in mind, where is the story taking place?
And when. So don't forget when. Sometimes we need to say when the story is taking place. So for example, the art project. When do you think that story is taking place? What time of the year? Because it didn't say. Addie,
The end of the year.
you think it's the end of the school year?
Because we're all running probably a lot.
Yes. So
It's
Addie.
only 1 month and we're
Yeah, Addie thinks at the end of the school year. So Raylan, what do you think?
Probably like springish,
Yes.
summer.
Spring, maybe not quite summer, because are we in school during the summer?
No.
maybe it's like in May.
So maybe like May or Brooklyn, what else?
I heard it say it was the end of it was sort of close to the end of the year. Like us, we're running out of supplies, and like Addie said,
Right.
we're going to be done with school in a week. So like they're
So-
running out of
so
supplies, we're running out.
So
of supplies.
Raylan says May. Is there any
Or
other month it could be?
Or April.
Or April. I would probably think April or May. That would probably be when this is taking place from yesterday, the art project. Okay, so we forgot to talk about that this morning, but the when and the where.
That we know the characters and the setting, we can really get involved in the action of the story. And in most fiction stories, the main character is going to run into some kind of a problem. Something happens that they need to fix. They need to figure out, what should I do in this situation? In the case of Little Red Hen, she keeps asking all of her friends to help her with different jobs, from cutting wheat to taking wheat to the mill to helping her bake bread. And all her friends say, no, we don't have time to help you do any of those things. So we figure out that the cat, the dog, and the duck don't have time to help Little Red Hen. So our problem is, how is she going to get this bread made when no one will help her? As stories move on, usually the main character does find a solution to their problem. In this case, the Little Red Hen says, I guess if none of you are going to help me, I will cut the wheat by myself. I will take the wheat to the mill by myself, and I will bake the bread by myself. So she solves the problem by doing everything all by herself. At the end, however, when Little Red Hen says, oh, who would like to help me eat this delicious bread? All of the animals, the cat, the dog, and the duck say, oh, I would love to. At that point, Little Red Hen says, oh no, if you don't help make the bread, you also don't get to enjoy eating the bread. So once we figured out the problem and the solution, you can also often figure out, what's the big idea or lesson in this story? In the case of the Little Red Hen, the lesson or the big idea is, we really need to work as a team, and we all need to put in some of the work, some of the things that aren't so much fun, in order to get that reward at the end, tasting that wonderful bread. So working together and participating in all the steps, even if they're not fun, in order to get that reward of the bread. So
Okay, so the solution, a lot of times you're gonna find a lesson that was learned or the big idea, okay?
as you read stories, I want you to keep in mind the characters, setting, problem, and solution, so that you'll be able to do a really nice job of retelling stories. Please do that as you concentrate on your books today.
Okay, so we're gonna practice this on our worksheet. So make sure you put your name at the top. It says, let's ride. Put your name at the very top. And once you have that done, put your finger on the first word, which is a contraction, let's. And we're going to read this all together. This is going to be a very short story, but it's going to have characters It's gonna have a setting, it's gonna have a problem, and it's gonna have a solution. So be looking for all four of those things. All right, put your finger on let's, and let's all read this together. You guys ready? I want to hear every second grader reading with me. Just wait, wait. There's just a couple friends not ready. Brooklyn, are you ready? Okay, I want to hear everyone. Here we go. Ready?
Let's drive to the park, Mama. Joan says driving cars can harm the earth. Let's ride our bikes there instead. Mom likes Joan's plan for protecting the earth.
Hey, this had all the elements of a story. It's a very, very, very short story, but it had the characters, the setting, the problem, the solution. Now, let's look at the first question. We talked about this yesterday. How do we know that this is fiction? Who remembers from yesterday? We talked about the three elements of fiction. There's three things. I guess Mrs. Murphy just shut off her ringer.
That reminds me
Sorry.
I didn't do mine either.
And you know what I usually do is I usually have my ringer off all day, and I go home and it stays off all night, and then people call me, and they're like, why aren't you answering? I'm like, I left my ringer off.
That was funny.
I'm sorry, you like my song?
Please keep that.
Okay.
Please keep the ring on.
So anyway, I turned it on last night because I had to make a couple phone calls and I forgot to shut it off. But maybe later we can listen to it. So, who can tell me from yesterday, how do we know this is fiction? Why do we know this is not real?
Because cars can't harm the earth.
Well, cars can harm the earth.
It is true.
They can have
your car on while you're waiting.
they can have pollution. That's what they're thinking. They're pollution. Like when you drive a car, the exhaust is polluting the earth. Okay, so who can tell me? You guys all should remember this from yesterday. How do I know this is fiction, not real? Lila.
Because, first of all, because they're, I don't know what the word is. They're not,
Like, are you thinking not real?
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They're not real. It is made up. So I want you to put a 1. The first thing is made up. And I'm not going to make you write made up characters and setting and events, but that's what it is. This story's made up. It's not a true story. So it's made up. That's the first thing. So everybody write that on the line. And we're not going to make a sentence. We're just going to list our ideas. Number 2. Mrs. Murphy's going to put my 2 over here. A story has to have what? What are we talking about today? What does the story have to have? Kinsley? What were we talking about all this morning?
I'm trying to think what it's called.
Can a friend help you?
Yes.
Okay. Ingrid?
A solution.
A solution, and Addie, what's the other one?
Setting.
Ooh, yep, we've already had a study. What goes with the solution, guys?
Where you see what it's about.
Okay.
I don't know what.
Wyatt, what is that called? A story has to have a solution, but in order to solve something, you have to have what, Raylan?
Problem.
A problem. So we're going to write, we have to have a problem. And then I'm going to just do a little dash solution. Okay, I know that you guys are writing this, but as you write this, I want you to think yesterday we talked about one more element. And this is when we look for quotation marks. So when we see quotation marks, what does that mean that's happening? I'm gonna let you think. Wyatt? the word. Good job. That's a big word. I didn't think you would remember that word. So dialogue, that means conversation. People are talking back and forth, back and forth. That's called dialogue. So whenever you have a conversation with somebody, that's dialogue. But when we write it down, that's what we call it, dialogue. So number 3. It's a really weird word, but dialogue.
It's on your paper.
I'm writing mine small.
Is it on the paper?
It's on
Yeah, it's on the paper.
What is mom's dialogue?
Oh, it is on the paper. So, I'm not gonna move mine, but it's down on number 2. Braylon found question number 2 says, "What is mom's dialogue in the story?"
I don't know. I just read them all.
Good job, Braylon. Good job. Find that.
I'm writing mine small. I'm just gonna go on the second line just because I want.
I mean, I have room on my first line. I just don't want.
Me too. Look at. Sometimes like words sound long, but they like sound short. Really? They can barely see that. I don't know. Let me see. Or some are very long. Miss Murphy. Miss Murphy. I put my.
Good job. You put on one line. Good
You
job.
have to have good handwriting.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let some people are still writing, but I'm going to read the question number 2. So Raylan spied this question. It says, "What is mom's dialogue in the park?" So
Story.
that means, what are the words that mom is saying out of her mouth? Everybody go back up and find it. Tyson, what is mom saying?
Let's drive to the park.
Exactly. So we are going to write that on number 2. I know Lily's still writing. Is there anyone else still writing besides Lily and Corla and Libby? Okay. Braylon.
You said park. It's story.
Yeah, you said park. It's story. What is mom's?
No, what is mom saying? And Tyson said, "Let's drive to the park."
No, but
When
when
you
said the
read it,
sentence-
you said, "What is mom's dialogue in the park?"
Oh, I said that.
It's
I'm
a
sorry.
story.
Okay, let me read that again. What's mom's dialogue in the story? So I apologize. So she says, number 2, let's drive to the park. Mr. Murphy's gonna put on the whiteboard, and then in a minute I'll move it up. But you guys can copy that from above, and make sure you put in your quotation marks.
Wait, we have to do like those commas.
Okay, and then just put a period and quotations. You don't have to write "said mom,"
Do we have?
because we know she's saying that. Brooklyn,
Do you have to put periods at the end?
it is a sentence. Mom said, "Let's drive to the park."
But all the sentences are
Number 2 is the only sentence we've had. These are just words.
Oh.
Remember, a sentence has to have a subject and a predicate. Okay, anyone else still writing on number 1?
Not me.
Number 1. Charlotte is?
Yeah, because I was on
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Miss Murphy, which line do you do?
How about you just go to number 2? Don't worry about this.
This one or this
Okay. All right. We're gonna go on to number 2. Charlotte, you can cross off 1 2 right, Mrs. Alms, okay?
What is the problem? Mine's extra small.
Okay, as you're writing, number 3 says, "What is the problem?" I want you to think in this story, what is the problem? Okay, what's the problem? In this story, we have a problem. I'll read the story again. "Let's drive to the park," said Mom. Joan said, "Driving cars can harm the earth. Let's ride our bikes there instead." Mom liked Joan's plan for protecting the earth. So what's the problem, Mason?
That they can't ride the car.
Well, but why? Why is that a problem? Why can't you ride your car to the park?
Because it'll harm the earth.
It will harm the earth. So driving to the park can harm the earth.
But you still can. But it would harm the
Okay, but Addie, in the story, they're saying driving to the park can harm the earth. Do you understand that? Okay.
Wait a moment.
That's the problem in this story. And you might go off the line on this one, just like I did, and that's okay. Driving to the park can harm the earth. So this is the problem. So as you're writing the problem, I think what is the solution? How do they solve this problem? It's a pretty easy solution.
Do you know when you walking that can harm the earth too? What? That can.
How does that harm the earth?
Because they, I don't know, it's just,
What are you doing when you're walking that hurts it, harms it?
I don't know, it's just nothing. Oh, pogo sticking harms the earth because it's jumping.
Yeah, but walking, when you walk, how are you harming the earth? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I think he's trying to say it like you're stepping on it or something.
Like you're stepping on the earth? If you were kicking it, yes,
That
but
would
I don't
be-
think stepping on it is probably not harming
That
it.
would be harming the earth.
Okay, all right guys, I'm gonna ask you all, because you all should know this. What is the solution? What do they do?
Ride the bike.
Yes, they ride their bikes.
Don't.
I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm gonna write it right there. All right, we should really write Joan and Mom, but we're gonna make it short. Instead of writing Joan and Mom, we're gonna write a pronoun they. So we're gonna say they ride their bikes. So that's the way that they solve this problem. And we should really say bikes to the park, but we're gonna keep it short. So they ride their bikes. That's how they solve the problem. Joan and Mom ride their bikes to the park.